Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dwyrin, and with Christmas right around the corner, there are no doubt many games you've had your eye on. However, in case anyone is still asking themselves, would I enjoy Elder Scrolls V Skyrim? I'm going to answer that question here today. See, the first thing you need to know is that it's an Elder Scrolls game. Obviously. If you're not certain what that means, then allow me to formally extend heartfelt greetings to you on behalf of video gamers everywhere. It's always nice to meet a virgin gamer. You see, if there's one thing the Elder Scrolls series is known for, it's being an open-world RPG. How open, you wonder? This shot here should give you a clue. Just look at all that scenery. Go ahead and look. Look anywhere you want, because anywhere your eye travels is somewhere your player can visit. Whether it's climbing the highest mountains, wading through snow, and exploring their peaks, if for no other reason than to admire the view, as you see here, it's something you can do. But if heights aren't your thing, well, that's okay, because you can also go swimming. But beware, in this game you do need oxygen, so while uncovering buried treasure in the depths of whatever ocean or lake you happen to be around is nice and fun and all, but do take an effort and come up for air every once in a while. Try not to drown. You can even roam the wilds and explore whatever caves happen to cross your path, plundering the bejesus out of them for days on end if you have a mind to. Though, be careful, these caves do not give up their spoils easily. You will have to fight for them as you see here, but that's okay because let's face it, fighting for loot is part of what makes this game so enjoyable. But you know what? Maybe the wild isn't really your thing. Maybe you're more of a people person. Well, if you are, don't worry. As you can see here, there are towns aplenty, such as this one, with many folk to talk to and be pestered with their own little quests. Sending you to fetch this, kill that, etc., etc. Or, merchants to sell your stuff to, demanding your attention to, hawk you their latest little treasures.
Take a good look around. I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for. If not, let me know. I might have it stored away. Everything's for sale, my friend. Everything. If I had a sister, I'd sell her in a second.
Among other things. Some of these even have houses that are for sale, so you can store whatever you find in your travels, further making you feel like you're actually part of the world you're adventuring in. But if that city was a little bit too rustic for you, don't worry. There are so many towns all over Skyrim. As you can see here, this one is a bit more for the well-to-do. Truthfully, in this game there's room for just about anything, as you'll quickly realize, because one thing the developers of the Elder Scrolls games have done really, really well is understanding what it is about their games that keeps drawing the attention of their fans, unlike some games I could name. Of course, where you feel comfortable in the world depends completely upon your actions. You see, this isn't a game where you just roam around and pick flowers. There are choices everywhere you go in the game, such as which are the two competing factions, if any, you choose to align yourself with. The city we just saw, for example, Solitude, is home to these people, the Imperials. And you have a choice that you could make. Do you side with the Imperials, who are essentially the dominant faction? They're bringing rule of law and unity to the land, hunting down and killing those who would stand against you, or, promote rebellion. Essentially the standing army of Skyrim, the ruling faction of Skyrim, if you will. And as mentioned, they are at war with a rebel faction, and if you want to help them out, you're free to do so. If you don't want to help them out, you're free to do that too. If you don't want to help anyone out, then that's completely fine. They have their own plotting that goes along, and you can be a part of it or not as you see fit. But in Skyrim, very rarely are there just one choice to be had. Of course, here as well there's at least two. In this case, the rebels, the Stormcloaks. If you find that you are in fact a rebel at heart, someone wanting to keep your own national identity and willing to kill anyone who wishes you to conform, well, then yeah, you can join the Stormcloaks. Of course, you don't have to make a choice, but the game does try and make you choose between one or the other right from the very beginning of the game, where they're literally saying pick door number 1 or door number 2 to kind of get your sympathy with one side or the other, since they do play a very, very large role in Skyrim. I mean, they're the two competing ruling factions. How would that not draw your character up? It makes perfect sense, right? And of course, it always goes without saying that choosing one faction or the other, well, that'll make the other side think a little something about you. In other words, they'll try to kill you.
Ulfric told us quite the story. If you made it through all that, you're likely worth something to me. Yeah, but first, tell me, why does a foreigner want to fight for Skyrim?
Did you catch the inflection when he said foreigner? I should also warn you that the Stormcloaks are a little bit racist, so if you do choose them, fair warning, they aren't exactly the rather most open-minded bunch in the world. But hey, they're another faction and it adds for replayability, right? Cool.
Before I can put you to use, I need to know how much you can take. I have a little test for you.
But again, this isn't the major plot of the game. In fact, it's only one of a multitude of choices your character will have to decide on. That's one of the great things about the Elder Scrolls series. The choices are yours. Hell, the only moral compass in the game is the one that you bring with you. Your character has no backstory, no meaning to their past. You didn't start out with anything to influence your decision one way or another. The game simply begins, you're there for whatever reasons that you want to give yourself, and you're in control. No attachments, no backstory, no baggage. It's just you, the game, and this world that they've created for you, and your decisions that you want to make in this world. Case in point, thievery. Yup. Thievery is an option for you. You can break and enter wherever you want, as long as you can pick the locks, and steal everything that's not nailed down. I mean, it's perfectly fine. Well, I guess not perfectly fine. If you are in fact caught, the authorities will be a little cross with you. But they're not the psychic wonders they were in the previous game. Those guys knew you were stealing stuff from like a mile away and would come and run after you and be like, "Halt, citizen," and try and cart you in. These guys, simple philosophy. Cop didn't see it, I didn't do it. It's really, really fun how they've truly fixed the thievery system in this game. So much so that you might find yourself getting rather addicted to it, like I did. In this game, if you want to steal the clothes right off of someone's back, well, if you're a high enough level and you've put enough points into, you know, your pockpicking skills, then yeah, you can do that. I mean, come on, you have to admit, breaking into the bedchamber of the most powerful person in solitude while they're sleeping and just perusing their inventory and robbing them blind is fun. Just taking one item at a time, seeing if they've noticed. Are they going to wake up? Have you been detected? No? Well, let me just help myself to some more items in your room. I'll just take a gem, go back to seeing what you have on your person, maybe go back to checking out your shelves, whatever I want, until my inventory is just full. Gold, necklaces, rings, whatever. If you've got the skills, it's all for the taking, and that gets really, really fun really, really fast, let me tell you. Now, with all of these videos of gameplay, some of the more astute among you might be saying to yourselves, well, the graphics are kind of seeming like they're a little bit outdated. And that would be a fair point. That would be a fair point. The game did come out in 2011, and although that might not seem like a long time ago in human years, the equivalent of that in computer years is roughly like a decade. So there is a lot better hardware out there. Games are already taking advantages of bigger and better hardware, and they're as a result constantly pushing the boundaries and looking better and better. So if you have noticed that, it's completely understandable. Completely understandable. Now don't get me wrong, the game still does look amazing. Just not as quite as amazing as we thought of it when it first came out. So much so, I remember when it first came out that I was absolutely terrified that I would not be able to run this game on my computer. My specs were... I mean, in the end I was able to, but it was, a pretty near thing, and I think I even had to upgrade that one in order to actually run Skyrim as well as I wanted to. Of course, nowadays, my computer, and I'm sure others, yours perhaps, your computers run laps around the game, which begs the question, how can you get more out of it? What you see before you is the answer to that question. It is the undying love made manifest of a community that loves the Elder Scrolls games. They keep pushing the boundaries of what their hardware is capable of to the point where some configurations would destroy my specs as if I was running a 486. But you can see the differences. On the left, we have the shots that you might remember from the beginning of the video. And on the right, we have some very, very simple graphics options that you can add to your game to make it look better and better. Now, some of you might look at what I have and say, dude, that's not better, that's so much worse. And just keep in mind, I went for a heavily contrasted option for this video. I wanted stark differences between the two. That way you can see, or at least get a hint of what the game is capable of. I wanted that kind of clash to really show up. Because you don't have to make it as contrasted as I do and as like bright and green and etc. You can go for a cinematic look if you want to just pretend that your character is actually inside a movie. You can do that. But it's more than just graphics as well. It's also how you even develop your character. There are so many mods for so many aspects of this game where even something that they've done right. Skyrim did a wonderful job giving you your abilities and choices to spec your character, but there are mods even to go further into detail on what was in the vanilla version, so you can just keep making your character exactly as you want your character to be made, giving so much replay value to this game. I mean, there are thousands of mods. I can't even begin to cover them all. It's impossible. I would love to, but it's just not happening. There are, in fact, entire YouTube channels devoted to nothing but highlighting Skyrim mods. It's essentially a full-time job, alright? So I'm not about to try and cover them all in my review. Suffice it to say, if you want your appearances to look better, if you want your textures to look better, if you want more quests, more armor, more weapons, if you want to change the AI of your companions or the enemies themselves, the list just goes on and on and on. There's even, I swear to God this is real, there's even a guy out there who looked at Skyrim and all you could do in the game, and he increased the content by like a third, including voice acting. I mean, there is just so much for this game that can be added onto it. It's just ridiculous. So much so that I would argue that if you are not playing this game on the PC and you are playing it on a console, then you are doing it wrong. You are missing out on just so much else that can be in this game. And I really think it's a shame that you're limited by that on a console. Grabbing this for a PC, if your computer can handle it, which by now it should be able to, is definitely worthwhile. Even if you did play it on a console and you beat it on a console, you're still gonna find an amazing experience on the PC, simply because of the enormous modding community out there and just so much effort and love they put into this game. Alright, So sure, there's all these places to go, all of these different things you can add into your game, ways to make it look better, just tons and tons of extra stuff that you can throw into this great game. But what is the game? I mean, what's the point to it? Is there a plot? Well, yeah, there obviously is. Sure, you can make your choices, do whatever you want, but in the end, you do have a little bit of a thing going on with your character, and the reason why the game was created, the plot behind everything. You see, you assume the role of something called a Dragonborn, and no, that does not mean that you're going to turn into a dragon and start flying around, okay? No. What that means is you can absorb the souls of dragons. How? Well, by killing them, obviously. Surely they're not going to just give up their soul for no reason, right? Fighting with the dragons is actually something that's been greatly desired since ever, really. Every Elder Scrolls game, you want to fight dragons. Why? Because in fantasy, which obviously this is, one of the greatest adversaries that spring to mind is a fucking dragon. And in this game, you finally get the chance to fight them. It's awesome. Of course, it does go without saying that being able to absorb something's soul, that just might anger them a little bit. Just a touch. So it should go without saying that once you start absorbing the souls of dragons, they kind of feel a certain way about that, and they will randomly try and kill you at any opportunity, like every other decision you make. You want to go with the Imperials rather than the Stormcloaks? Other side's gonna try to kill you. You start absorbing souls of dragons. Other side's gonna kill you. Do you have DLC and are vampires running around? Are you one? Great, then the Dawn Guard are gonna want to kill you. Are you a Dawn Guard? Sweet, vampires are gonna want to kill you. At every option, there's a choice that you make, and your choice is gonna greatly affect who's trying to kill you, and who likes you, and where you can go in the world. Alright, but back to Dragon Souls. You have a Dragon Soul, what do you do with them? Well, what you can do is go to these robed people and they will teach you all about yourself, which I will not spoil for the few of you who have not actually done this and are probably going to do. And those shouts are everywhere. You learn them from these people, you learn them on walls and caves, essentially encouraging you to go around the world, learn more shouts, and become a stronger character overall. But what is a shout? Well, let's take a look, as these guys are demonstrating for us. See, here we're going to absorb the power from this kind little guy. And allow you to experiment with them.
Use your unrelenting force shout to strike the targets as they appear.
As you see, that shout staggers people and knocks them back. So if you have people near you, you can immediately get away from them easier, either by running or by shouting at them. And many different shouts are out there, they do many different things, and bring a great level of customization to your character. But alright, I've gone on long enough about things that I've liked about the game. Let's look at something that I've disliked about the game. And some of you may not like this, but let's talk about the Dark Brotherhood questline. You begin off with this kid here, who sends you off to kill. And if you do kill for them, you wind up meeting this person, who at the beginning is really cool. I love this scenario.
Well, does it matter? You're warm, dry, and still very much alive. That's more than can be said for old Grelod.
The atmosphere for beginning this Dark Brotherhood questline is great. It's exactly what I was looking for, and I thought it was going to be my favorite questline, just like it was in Oblivion, right?
Old Crone had it coming.
I mean, just look at this.
To boot. But there is a slight problem. You see, that little Aretino boy was looking for the Dark Brotherhood. For me and my associates. If you turn around, you'll notice my guests. I've collected them from, well, that's not really important. The here and now. That's what matters. You see, there's a contract out on one of them, and that person can't leave this room alive. But, oh, which one? Go on. See if you can figure it out. Make your choice. Make your kill. I just want to observe.
See,
And
how
admire.
awesome is that? You're locked in a room with a psychopath who just told you to kill one of 3 people. That's amazing. That's
Am
a
I to take
great
your
way to
silence
start
as
off
acceptance?
a quest line. I
Then you know
loved
where we
it.
stand. Make your kill and we're square. Repayment of your debt is but a discreet knife thrust away.
Cowards. Stealing a woman from her home. For shame.
Well,
Such a great way to start off a quest line. You're
Three
part of a secret
possibilities, 3 victims.
brotherhood of assassins,
Must be
right?
one of them, right?
This should be
So
like
I
the
take
ultimate stealth
chances.
mission you would think.
Used to be the Dark Brotherhood was bound by 5 tenets, but we stopped following those years ago. All those rules, all that discipline, and look where the Dark Brotherhood ended up. We're the last of our kind, and we live the way we see fit.
It's a minor thing, but I'm obviously spending a lot of time on it. The discipline, gone. You don't have to be stealthy. You don't have to... You're not really constrained by anything. Just kill them in any way you see fit. Who cares if anyone sees you? It's a minor thing, I know, but one of the best memories I have from Oblivion is the Dark Brotherhood quest line. Why? Well, if you've played Oblivion, then you remember. You remember going down that quest line until, spoiler alert, you encounter the dinner party where you have to infiltrate them and kill them one by one without the other guests knowing who's the one that did it. Oh my god. Talk about the best, most funnest the funnest quest line in any game, anywhere. That one just set the bar so high for anything else. And I kind of don't like that they just dropped this one on the floor. I just hope it's not because, you know, some helicopter parent wrote in saying that they didn't like how their kid was now talking about killing all their friends when they had a dinner party or something. I don't know. Minor gripe, but it is something that kind of annoyed me about the game. Now, one other thing that might take off from your enjoyment of the game is kind of depending on who you are and what you enjoy in your games. For example, I do know people who, when they look at a game, they really do need boundaries. They need confined areas, they need specific goals, and when you put them into this huge open world, it can just completely overwhelm them. Now, you might think that's kind of silly, I don't know, or you might be one of these people who think this way. If you are, then this is definitely going to be a point off for you specifically. You might want to maybe avoid this game, or maybe get someone to play it with you, watch you play it. It's not a multiplayer game, but you know, you can have someone over and like help you out in that respect, I suppose, keep you on track on the main quest line. Then you might still enjoy it. There's still lots to enjoy in that respect. But yeah, if you get overwhelmed, then Elder Scrolls games definitely not going to be your thing. And if you are that kind of person and anyone tells you to play Daggerfall, just punch them in the nuts as hard as you can because they're trolling you hardcore. Trust me on that one. Other than that, the audio I generally liked. I didn't show, or I didn't put much of it in my review, unfortunately. But a lot of the voice acting, a lot of it was good. Some of it, unfortunately, I would have loved it if Patrick Stewart was back in this one, like he was in Oblivion. If you've seen Battlestar Galactica, you might have remembered when we went to the Imperial area that you might have recognized the voice of Saul. He's in this one fairly extensively. So there are still some pretty good voice actors in this one. Some, again, like I said, but what are you gonna do? But overall, if there's something that you don't like about this game because of the modding community, it's really hard to actually take a point off for it. Now you might say, no, that's not how it is. You should evaluate the vanilla version of the game, and that's it. And to you, I say, welcome to the Elder Scrolls. You cannot really judge an Elder Scrolls game without looking to see what the modding community has also brought to the table. Ever since Morrowind, there's just so much added to the games. Oblivion, so much added to the games. Skyrim, you've seen just a small amount of what's been added to the games. And they're programmed with that in mind. They're programmed to be mod friendly. And I just have so much that I would love to show you, but I just can't. Suffice it to say, anything, and I do mean anything. It's not always a good thing, but anything can essentially be added to this game. So, what is my final score? I love the game. The game is great. I've played it so many times, though I've only actually beaten it once. But yeah, it's just so large, you just go off and start doing whatever you want, and that's a great game. That is a great game. So, I personally would definitely give this game a solid 10 out of 10, like almost every reviewer that's ever touched this game. If, on the other hand, you are not playing this on a PC, and remember, congratulations, you failed now, then you're probably not going to be getting as much out of the game. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. So for you, you probably definitely disagree with that. You've probably given this a much lower rating, and I can completely understand why, because you just don't have access to all of the bells and whistles that PC users do. So you can take off for that, I get it. But I give it a 10 out of 10, and if this game is in your price range, or if it goes on sale and you haven't snagged it up yet, dude, do yourself a favor. If you like open world RPGs, you are gonna love the hell out of Skyrim. And that's all there is to it.